If you've watched any of the other videos on this channel, you might have come across this prophecy before: Daniel and the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. I suppose I should apologise for repeating myself, but this prophecy is so important it should really appear on every single Bible video, TV station, radio station, world documentary and 24-hour news channel since the beginning of time. I don't normally indulge in exaggerations, so you may assume that when I say all that, I'm not exaggerating. Why? Because this dream prophesies virtually every major ruling power in the Middle East from 500 BCE to the present day, and gets it more or less right. Do you think that any human is able to do that? Remember, that's 2,000 years into the future. Even if you don't believe that Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar ever existed, it makes no difference to the prophecy. What has been written, and it makes no difference whether it was written by Daniel or Mickey Mouse. This is how the Bible presents its prophecies. It narrates a highly unlikely story with characters that can hardly ever be confirmed by history or archaeology. Gives all the praise to God, when God probably wasn't involved in the story in the first place. And then, in the middle of it all, the prophecy appears. By this time, however, most people have given up on the story, and as a result, miss the prophecy. It's almost as if God is applying natural selection to the spiritual world, as well as the natural world. In the book of Daniel, chapter 2, we have Daniel's summary of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. You looked, O king, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay, and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver and the gold were broken to pieces at the same time, and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. Then in the next few verses we have the interpretation. You, O king, are that head of gold. After you, another kingdom will arise inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, and it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw that the feet and toes are partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some strength of iron in it, even as you saw the iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with the baked clay, so the people will be a mixture, and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. You would think that that would be sufficient, but no, there's more. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of the mountain, but not by human hands, a rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay and the gold to pieces. The great God has shown the king what will take place in the future. The dream is true, and the interpretation is trustworthy. So here we have a vision which prophesies a future over a time scale of nearly 2,500 years, from the time of Nebuchadnezzar to the future, beyond the 21st century. It is generally agreed amongst Bible scholars that the four metals represent four occupying forces or governments whose armies conquered most of the Middle East at any one given time. The gold, as Daniel said, was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom of Babylon. The silver the Medo-Persian, the bronze, Greece, the iron, the Romans, the mix of iron and clay, the present day, or end times. These 4 kingdoms were prophesied to rule over the whole earth at different times in the future, and these 4 came and went as the prophecy said. As I explained in part 1, we are now living in the age of iron and clay, where the various nations in the world find great difficulty in getting on with each other. All these countries are also divided into many ethnic groups, which, like the iron and clay description, also don't tend to get along with other ethnic groups. We all live side by side as the iron and clay are mixed together to form the feet, but in reality we are polarised, separated by boundaries that we impose upon ourselves and others. So why have I chosen this prophecy rather than any other? The reason should be pretty clear. 5 parts of the prophecy have come true, and we are living in the 5th. What are the odds against the 6th part not happening? The 6th part is a rock which was cut away from the mountainside without human assistance, and was obviously the birth of Jesus. The rock striking the statue is the future return of Jesus in power and glory. The grinding to dust of the demolished remains of the statue is the disappearance of all human rule, and it being replaced by a divine kingdom. So, I repeat the question. 5 parts of this prophecy have come true. What are the odds that the 6th part will happen? In part 3, I will examine the problem of whether God is involved with world events or not. Finding Bible prophecies about the present and future are fairly easy, but we then create the problem of whether the protagonist is involved in his own programme.